Hello everyone, and on behalf of the Australian Institute of Architects, I welcome you to this member lean-in. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the many lands we're joining from today. For me, that is the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay my deep respects to elders past and present. I'm Jo Nevin, Head of Partnerships at the Institute, and it's my great pleasure to be your host today. This very special lean-in is brought to you by our principal partner, Dulux. Our enduring relationship underlines Dulux's commitment to advancing architectural excellence in Australia, supporting professional development, design recognition, and opportunities across the profession. So, today we're excited to bring to you the highly anticipated annual unveiling of the Dulux Colour Forecast for 2026. Drawing on extensive global research and design insights, this forecast showcases 3 dynamic palettes that represent a bold expression of the themes and influences expected to shape interiors in the year ahead. We are joined by Andrea Lucena-Orr, Dulux Colour and Communications Manager, who has worked with colour for more than 28 years at Dulux Group. Andrea's work spans colour training, publishing, and trend analysis, forecasting, and strategy. She is also a member of the International Colour Marketing Group, giving her a unique perspective on design directions around the world. So it is now my great pleasure to hand over to Andrea, who will guide us through the inspirations behind the 2026 forecast and share the ideas and influences that have informed these new palettes. Over to you, Andrea.
So this year's forecast reflects a growing collective need for warmth, calm, and reconnection with both ourselves and with nature. In a time of uncertainty marked by geopolitical unrest, economic pressures, and our growing reliance on digital connection, many are turning inwardly, looking for refuge and renewal. This feeling drives a strong shift towards comforting and nurturing colours that foster positivity, well-being, and a secure haven. As part of this research, the Dulux Colour team closely collaborates with international brands. We attend design shows and seminars, runway presentations, and global events such as Milan Design Week. We also draw from customised trend research and insights accessed through Dulux's global network across the UK, Europe, and Asia Pacific. As members of the Colour Marketing Group, we analyse key reports from Colour Marketing Group as well as forecasting firms such as Colour Hive, which also do Mix Magazine, and also the Future Laboratory, who do LSN Global, to ensure our forecasting reflects what is ahead. So I would like to welcome you to our 3 palettes for 2026. We have our first palette, Elemental, then we have Evoke and Ethereal. So Dulux Elemental offers a calm, grounded counterbalance to the overwhelm of modern life. Embedded in anti-burnout culture and inspired by brutalist design principles, it reflects a growing desire for slow living, emotional clarity, and intentional simplicity. Dulux Evoke celebrates the resurgence of maximalism and individual style, a desire for change and support for designers and artisan skills. Dulux Ethereal invites a soft form of escapism, creating playful and whimsical spaces filled with serenity, tenderness, and a dreamlike sense of calm. So welcome to our 3 palettes for 2026. Let's do a deep dive into our first palette of Elemental. Dulux Elemental is a tonal grounded palette built around warm whites and neutrals. These colours bring stillness and structure, whilst darker tones create depth and dimension. The result is a timeless, cohesive palette that feels quietly confident. Elemental reflects a desire for thoughtful consumption and balanced living. It's not about having less for the sake of it, but making room for what truly matters. So let's have a look at our mood board. So on this mood board, you can get that general sense of sort of an organic and natural sort of collective. And certainly in this palette, we are seeing those colours dominating as well. A couple of examples. This is from what we saw at Milan Design Week. Basically, the top left image from Aesop, and I'll just show you on screen now. So Aesop created this amazing paired back installation where guests could recede from the hustle of Milan and experience involves a series of meditative interactions, including a centered arrival of restorative cleansing of hands in beautiful elevated basins. Colours were tonal and quiet, allowing a respite from outside. Also, we had this overall feeling of simplicity and architectural calmness. It really was a reprieve from the outside. Another example on this mood board I'd like to talk about is the in-person dining experiences. And certainly Artemis was a really great example of this. And I've got my cursor on this image now. So Artemis created this beautiful, elaborate dining room space. And it was really focused on the dining setting and also the experience around that setting. It was almost bordering on theatrical. Obviously, rediscovering the lost art of dining is really becoming a special event. And I think it's even more important with family and in the residential home today. So let's have a look at the colours, very excitingly. So looking at our palette, there's obviously, this is a very natural palette and very, very muted palette. So when we're looking at the key colour, we have a key colour in each three palettes, is Caramel Sundae. So this beautiful sort of enriched tan has slight sort of reddy undertone, really beautiful, warm, sort of mid-tone tan. Other colours that I would like to point out, we have our beautiful, sorry, I'm just going to read you the colours here. We have really, really beautiful sort of greys, if you like, these warm greys. We have clear concrete and reckless grey, really beautiful, almost like silver-like grey bases. We also have included this gorgeous sort of light reflective, almost like a golden tone in Condiment. And Condiment has, once again, that sort of brown and red undertone. So it still is quite muted, but of course with light reflection, it really comes to life. It's quite a glowing sort of colour as well. Another surprise this year is Red Main, which is that brown-based red, really beautiful colour, very, very neutral, pairs beautifully with all these tans and beiges and even in those greyish tones as well. We've incorporated powders into this palette as well, because we know that often specifiers have to use both decorative paint as well as powder coating. So we have included some colours that work really beautifully with this decorative palette as well. So when it comes to how it looks, so the material board, so that same desire for purpose and longevity drives taste in interiors. This palette showcases the natural environment with furniture, finishes and design choices prioritising repairability, durability and lasting utility over fleeting trends. Raw, enduring materials like stone, concrete and timber anchor a responsible design ethos where each element is built to last. Clean lines and unadorned forms highlight texture and function, with industrial chrome and aluminium accents adding a modern edge. From leather and suede textiles to eco-friendly fabrics, these materials add warmth, whilst charcoal and white occasional chairs inject bold character without clutter. So once again, I'm going to take you through a couple of the examples on our mood board here. On the top left image, which is this from the Boon Room, this is the Chord Vessels by Cal Summers, and it's inspired by brutalist architecture and obviously the surrounding environment. And Cal Summers is a British designer whose work pairs well weathered materials with contemporary forms. He created these pieces and that could be objects from the future as well as the past. And these chord vessels are cast in a composite material with a steel tube inset. Each piece comes out of the mold with a corroded finish slightly different from the last. So each piece is unique. Another thing from a colour perspective I'd like to highlight is this CC Tapas rug here. This is called the Twins rug from the Clay Scans collection by Eni Lee Parker. The clay scan delves into the tactile essence of clay, celebrating the raw, unfiltered beauty of material in its purest form. Drawing inspiration from a hands-on sculpturing process, Eni Lee Parker reimagined the medium by transforming its three-dimensional forms into striking two-dimensional compositions. And I just love the colourways together. So let's have a look at some of the imagery that we have brought about by these new colourways. So working alongside Bree Manfield, who's our stylist, we were able to scout these three beautiful homes. This particular one was close to Geelong. And this particular room was a beautiful living space, very welcoming sort of space, and highlighting one wall in Caramel Sunday, which is our key colour, and then the top left wall in Condiment really sort of gave it that warmth and welcoming sort of appeal as well. We have included this beautiful art sculptural piece by Elvis Sabi. It's called 14 Ice Cream Cones. So a beautiful piece. On the left-hand side, we've used the colours Clear Concrete, which I mentioned to you is that sort of warm greyish, and of course that beautiful puddle in that sort of light beige. Of course, adding to the trend, we've incorporated this chrome light, this floor light, which is really beautiful and really fits that trend beautifully. The middle image just gives you a close image of that first lounge room image. Obviously, you can see the beautiful architectural style of the peeking windows down below, really bringing in the beautiful plant life as well. But you can see how it all works together with that gorgeous Caramel Sunday colour. On the right-hand side, we have used Reckless Grey in the dining space. This grey, once again, has that warmth undertone. And of course, that works beautifully with timber and also stone. In the bedroom here, we've just highlighted this one wall in Dulux Ticking, which is that beautiful sort of deep charcoal with that sort of slight blue inference. And of course, on the right, we have used the main colour as puddle as well, but it really highlights and brings contrast to that wall to bring that as the main feature in this space. So how do we use these colours together? We've just given you a bit of a cheat sheet here of how these colours can be used, but of course, a lot of these colours can be used together. They can be used singular. They can be used with many other colours as well, obviously being so natural and being also quite muted as well. So some of these, I suppose, tonal colour schemes you could use together is something like Caramel Sunday with Puddle. You could also use quite contrasting schemes with something like Red Mane and Reckless Grey, something like that. And of course, you can keep it quite simple and use something like Clear Concrete with Hog Bristle Quarter. So there's a lot of ways you can use these natural colours. This brings us to our second forecast trend, which is Evoke. Rooted in vintage aesthetics, it embraces imperfection and cherishes treasures, blending elements of past and future to create fresh and eclectic style, reflecting a conscious shift towards circular design, sustainability, and the reuse of materials. Retrofuturism emerges from blending elements of past eras like Art Deco, postmodernism, and futuristic styles to create a vision for our future. This growing appeal of blending old and new is also evident in the rise of vintage shopping to discover those authentic pieces, such as archive rugs, high-gloss furniture finishes, and statement lighting from the period of the 50s right through to the 70s. Excuse me. Older generations find familiarity and refuge in these classic styles, whilst younger generations can appreciate the opportunity to blend these classic styles with modern elements. We're almost creating this nana chic, I love that term, nana chic, spaces, rich in character, texture, and authenticity. This palette embraces a move away from uniform, pared-back interiors in favour of maximalism, warmth, and a more sustainable way of living. So let's have a look at our mood board here. So there's some really fantastic examples. You can see how eclectic this particular palette is. But certainly one of our favourite installations at Milan Design Week this year was certainly the D'Amore studio, along with Laura Piano, which channeled this amazing 1970s cinema and really brought it to life. And that is on this image here, D'Amore studio. This is one of the sets in this cinema, which was a lounge, a sunken lounge room. So I'm going to set the scene for you. We were brought into this sort of very dull or dark sort of space, and in the center point, all of us were collectively waiting with this sort of very soft, moody music in the background, and all of a sudden the spotlight showcases one room set, and then obviously the story, the music came. It was quite dramatic. And we got to obviously experience each of these 4 room sets under this spotlight. And at the end, we had about 5 minutes to take some photos. But it was a really great experience because you did really get that dramatic feel when you're in the space. And I've set the scene because I'm going to take you through what happened. So a phone rings without answer. A bathtub overflows. There's smashed china littering the dining room floor, whilst a piano key tinkles in the background. In this fictional 1970s villa, something nefarious is afoot. But as witnesses to this eerily realistic scene, we're never quite sure what's going to happen next. So this immersive installation exploring the boundary between reality and cinematic fiction was obviously done through these amazing, great, incredible sets in this beautiful home that this created. So fantastic experience. We really love this. Another installation that we actually go to every year is Casa Ornelia. This is a really incredible installation as well. This is a Milan-based show house. So it's an apartment that opens each year, and it's a constantly evolving stage. So this interior designer, her name is Maria Vittoria Pagini, transforms this space, unveiling an exclusive new project to the public. This year's theme was the Mediterranean, and it was a home where one could experience a sense of escape, even within the confines of the city. And it's an oasis of well-being, celebrating individuality and distinctiveness. And it really is quite incredible what this artist and designer does. Each year, last year, for an example, we went to this space and it was very dark, like lots of bold, deep colours in every space. This year it was very light and open, but every year the rooms change. So where the bathroom was this year, it was a completely different space. And where the lounge room was last year, this year it was the kitchen. So everything is completely new each year, and everything is for sale in this apartment. So it is quite amazing. Real experience. All right, let's have a look at the colours. So obviously this is a much more colourful palette than what we saw in Elemental. But certainly the colours in Evoke really lean into this rich, comforting tone. We're not seeing a lot of brights, probably Succulent's our brightest colour, but there's a lot of depth and character and warmth in these colours. We have things like blush pinks, like Dulux Baked Clay. We have burnt oranges, which is a sort of yellow orange, if you like, in Magic Melon. We also have these beautiful warm golds with that slight sort of mustard undertone in both Germania and Tupelo Honey. And we have dramatic shades incorporated in here. We have deep aqua and the teal. We have these gorgeous berry tones in Misty Grape. We're not seeing the escape or the, certainly we're seeing all the burgundies and berries still on the rise, so that's not going away. The key colour in this palette is Germania. And we're certainly seeing a lot of that sort of tone coming through in both interiors, but also in fashion. And we've incorporated some whites into this palette. We've used one of our most neutral whites, which is Snowy Mountains Half, and also this, I suppose, warmer version in White Beach. We've incorporated 4 powder colours, and of course we have quite a mixed palette there as well that work beautifully with this overarching palette. So when it comes to materials, Evoke's materials reflect its eclectic spirit. Unconventional materials which blend vintage, handcrafted and sustainable elements. We're seeing marble, glass, faux fur and velvet come together alongside mid-tone and darker timbers, adding text and depth. The palette is further accentuated by chrome, aluminium and copper, which is really quite a diversion away from gold, which really reflects that growing financial consciousness at the moment. Opposing prints, bold colour combinations and carefully curated details contribute to a rich character-filled space that feels lived in, purposeful, and most importantly, a true reflection of its owner. So a couple of examples of this materials mood board. We have the Edra sofas down the bottom right here. So obviously Edra, they had their classic sofas in shimmering materials and combinations. The collection introduced 3 rich sculptural textiles inspired by nature, and each were able to adapt to the organic, expressive forms that defines the brand seating. So Gems is the name of this particular promotion, and it was is illuminated by yarns that gleam like precious stones. Glossy matte blends the softness of chenille with the tactile intrigue of pure wool boucle. And every they actually had 2 installations, one at the showgrounds, but also one in one of the local plazas, and both were really equally impressive. They do tonal colour so beautifully, Edra. Another really great example is Bocce. So Bocce we go to each year. This year they celebrated 20 years, which was really fantastic. We went to this amazing apartment. It's a special exhibition which with creative director by the Future Perfect's David Alderdeff. It was called The Number Between Numbers, and it was a real exploration of Omid Arbor's design discoveries and an exhibition of new works. So we always love this. I mean, obviously the Bocce lighting is always beautiful. They always obviously do it on mass, which is incredible. But what I really loved this year is not only their colorways, so their colors right throughout the apartment were so impressive, but also their paint finishes. So they used the most incredible paint finishes this year. In the bedroom, they had this sort of, and this is the image that is on screen now, where my cursor is, the most elaborate sort of speckled finish. So it was almost like layered with about 5 different sort of shades of ochre. And what they did was they layered it in obviously this random pattern, which sort of had this overarching sort of wash look. Incredible. And then down the stairwell, they had this ombre effect with this chocolate brown and leading up into this beautiful soft beige, you know, in that sort of ombre sort of variation. Really impressive. In the hallway, they had an amazing painted sort of floral mural as well. So lots of different things. So they really, really put a lot of effort and hard work in their installation. So looking at the images, this was a beautiful home in Bayside, Melbourne. This particular room, we really wanted to use tonal colour. So we've used very similar tones in different colours. So here we've got chocolate treat on the ceiling and bulkhead. We've got deep aqua on the walls. And of course, Misty Grape is just on that entertainment cabinet. What I love about using that tonal colour at sort of equal quantity, if you like, it really does help highlight all the furniture and accessories, which obviously we put a lot of that's where a lot of the expense is. So it's great to highlight that as well in the centre. On the left here, we have colour drenching at its finest with beautiful Tupelo honey. As you can see, we're really sort of showcasing that enveloping colour. With that sort of golden, with that slight mustard sort of underglow. Bree has used that beautiful Misty Grape in the bed linen as a contrast. And of course, we were very lucky this home had this gorgeous teal carpet. Middle image shows you that gorgeous baked clay that is being schemed alongside the Misty Grape, just on the side of the balustrade there. And of course, we've used the white beach. So we haven't gone that stark white on the ceiling. We've really paired it back into this sort of beautiful beige white, if you like. On the right, just a different angle of that first room that we saw on the page before, and you can really see how well that beautiful deep aqua teal works alongside that Misty Grape. In the bedroom, we have used, once again, the colour drenching. We love how this looks, the Misty Grape. It's very cocooning and enveloping sort of colour, makes it feel really cosy and perfect for a bedroom space. How you use these in schemes, there's a lot of ways. Once again, you could use these colours individually, or obviously you could use them together, and not only in paint. I mean, if you think about the whole space, you can bring in these colours into furnishings and furniture along the way, as well as paint. You could use it tonally by something like our key colour Germania with Tupelo honey. You could use a contrast and use something like Misty Grape with white beach. Or obviously you could use sort of 2 opposing colours as well. Lots of ways you can do it, and it is a bit of a fun palette, this one. So this brings us to our final palette, and this is Ethereal. So Ethereal offers a gentle, uplifting refuge, a palette inspired by nature, grounded in hope, and designed for emotional restoration. In a world marked by uncertainty, it responds to a collective need to pause, reconnect, and appreciate the soothing pace and subtle beauty found in everyday and natural surroundings. Dulux Ethereal moves away from the usual gloomy narrative around the issue of climate change, embracing a more hopeful and optimistic outlook, focusing on positive solutions. So let's have a look at our mood board here. So here, obviously, you can see there's a lots of softer, sort of almost pastel colours. There's some really beautiful displays of installations on this particular board. One of them that we really loved and we always attend every year is Rosanna Orlandi Gallery. And this year it was just beautiful. This particular installation was from the architect, Aileen Asmar Daman. And we actually got to speak to this lovely lady, and she was telling us all about her installation, and it was quite a large installation there. But this was called The Power of Tenderness, and it was described as an invitation to softness in our interiors through the poetry of design, which we absolutely loved that description. Another thing that was really interesting, and once again, we always attend MUSHO with the apartment each year. There's 3 images. We have the one here, and one here. Their actual installation was called Changing Seasons. So weaving together light, colour, form and texture and scent, this exhibition reflected the feeling of changing seasons. Each room offered a distinctive experience, from energetic warmth to quiet introspection to a sense of refreshing renewal. It really provided a welcoming chance to pause, reflect, and reconnect with the natural rhythms that shape our experiences and perceptions over time. And it really was a beautiful escape from the hustle and bustle of Milan going to this apartment. So when we look at the colours with Ethereal, they're I'll start again. Ethereal is a refined blend of soft and mid-tone hues. We incorporated greens, mauves, and blush pinks that feel both joyful and restorative, filled with vintage rose, warm buttercream, and gentle pastels. We have also included romantic tones like Dulux 7, Different Pink, and Mask. We've also added in these subtle pastels such as Dulux Ti Amo, which is also our key colour, as well as Blue Shell and Soft Fresco. This palette feels sentimental, uplifting, and of course, quietly luxurious. So a couple of standouts on this page. We have included quite a few pinks, but as you can see, they're very different pinks. So we have those earth-based pinks in Different Pink and Savin, whereas we have these sort of more, I suppose, more purple-based or mauve-based pinks in Aroma and Mask. Our powders colours work beautifully alongside these decorative colours as well. Our white we've included is our most neutral white, which is natural white. And another highlight I'd like to talk about is Silver Thor. Silver Thor is a beautiful, soft beige. It does have that warmer, browner undertone, but it does work like a silver without the metallic. It's a really fantastic neutral to use. So when it comes to our mood board for materials, the materials here really bring this palette to life. The reflective surfaces like glass and chrome introduce a luminous glow, while sandblasted and texturized finishes contribute to a softness and warmth. Light coloured timbers from soft oak to bleach variations, as well as further aid in creating that beautiful, restful ambience. Plush fabrics featuring delicate botanical patterns add texture, whilst a blend of subtle details and refined materials foster that feeling of softness, reminiscence, and quiet opulence. Light is a key element in tying all of this together, helping illuminate spaces with a playful, dream-like atmospheric softness. And you can really feel that from the sort of look and feel of this material board. A couple of examples here. Of course, we love going to Alcova. It is about an hour out of the city, but it is always an amazing installation. This year they had 4 showcasing buildings to look through. What I loved about this one, it was an old factory that was obviously not working anymore. It was very dilapidated, lots of broken glass and roof missing in different parts, etc. It was quite down and dirty, if you like. And this particular sofa really just shone to us. It was that spearmint green. It just felt soft, and obviously the beautiful curvature as well. It was amazing. Another thing I'd like to talk about is Hermes. Hermes always do amazing installations in Milan, and this year was no different. Very different from last year. This year, they presented their home collection in a minimalist contemplative installation. The exhibit, located at La Palazzo, was featuring stark white. So that was obviously all of the walls and the ceilings were in this incredible stark white. Then we had these suspended boxes that served as pedestals for their new objects that they were obviously promoting. And it also, with these pedestals coming down, they casted this subtle chromatic halo onto the floor. So all you saw from afar when you started this installation was this beautiful glow of different colors underneath these pedestal displays, if you like. It was absolutely beautiful, and it sort of helped with knowing where to go next as well. It was really pretty. And that was quite juxtaposed to last year, where it was a very dark and moody installation. So very, very different. When we look at some of the images that we were able to bring to life with these colours, this was a beautiful home in Melbourne. Here we have different pink on the walls and savin on the ceilings. This is tonal colour, so this comes in under the term colour capping. When colour capping is used, it's simply if you're using one colour but in different tones, that comes under that structure of colour capping. Very interesting. But beautiful, warm, you can feel that nurturing sort of environment for this dining space. On the left here, I talked about silver Thor before. I really do love this colour. It is that sort of flat silver. Works beautifully with natural white as well. You can see that gorgeous structural Ticini chair there as well. The middle image is that beautiful Lilium 2. Lilium 2 has that slight sort of yellow citrus sort of tone, but ultimately with natural white, you can see just how sort of soft and soothing those colours are together in that beautiful stairwell space. On the right here, another example of colour capping. We have that gorgeous kindness on the ceiling. We've brought it down for a bit of playful fun. And also that's a really easy thing to sort of add a little bit of interest to a square set cornice as well. And we've used the aroma on the walls there, but it really just sort of highlights everything on the ground when you've got that tonal colour or colour saturation like colour drenching. When it comes to this beautiful living space here, we've incorporated that key colour in Tiamo. We've got soft fresco just on that left wall, and of course that Lilium 2 on the ceiling there. But you can see it really sort of brings to life that plant life from outside. It draws you in. And of course, we've got that fun Zanotto chair and this beautiful ceramic lamp that we were able to use from a beautiful local artist, Amy Crocus. So beautiful and soft and soothing with a lot of fun with colour. So how would we use these ethereal schemes? Lots of ways to use these. Obviously, there's a lot of soft colours here as well. We can use something simple like Silver Thor with natural white. We can use just two tonal colours with different pink and southern. We saw those in one of the images. Or we could use something quite contrasting and use Amazon depths with something like different pink. So really go out there. All of these are available to you in A4 samples. So all of these are from the Dulux World of Colour Atlas. And we officially launch on Thursday, the 28th of August. So you have access to A4. So please order away and and get to experience some of these amazing colours. So thank you so much for your time. I hope we've inspired you and you get to have a bit of fun. And I'm going to stop sharing now so we can actually see whether there's any clue.
Beautiful. All right. Well, if there's no more questions, we will wrap it up there. Andrea, we are so grateful for your time today. We're so grateful to partner with Dulux in such a meaningful way and to get these insights into what's coming in colour in the year ahead. It's really exciting, and I really actually love the way it's also leaning into sustainability and really
Absolutely.
supporting this kind of circular economy. And it's just fantastic work that Dulux is like leaning into and trying to support some of the bigger needs of the industry. So huge shout out to Dulux for that as well. And yeah,
Thank
really
you.
excited to share this. And thanks again for your time. And thank you everybody for joining us today.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.